I want to change tack yet again. This time talk about, well, matters digital. And the fact that yesterday a new digital program called the Ajira, well, a digital program was launched yesterday to enable more than 1 million youth access online jobs over the next 1 year. Ajira digital program, which was rolled out by the ICT Ministry, aims to introduce Kenyans to online work and provide the tools, training and mentorship needed to work and earn an income even when working via mobile phones. ICT Cabinet Secretary Joe Musharu said that the project will fulfill the government's electoral pledge to create jobs and is in response to a growing market for online work globally. Well, to crystallize that discussion in studio, I have with me Mr. Sham Gishuru. He is the founder CEO at NILAB and one of the people behind what has been called Kohasol. It is a platform that, well, generally enables you be able to source work online, among other things. And he is here to, well, give us his perspective on that development. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much.
Now, first off, the fact that Kenya has been, well, gradually been able to make its place in the digital market, is now ranked about the 10th largest supplier of those sorts of jobs in the world. Do you think the Ajira program is the answer towards crystallizing that further?
Well, first of all, I think you have to ask yourself, how did Kenyans make it to be the 10th biggest community on Upwork with 40,000 users without support from government in the past or without a lot of money being poured in that space? This is simply because online work is about quality. And I think I can't even stress this any further. I am a veteran on online work. I worked on old websites like Scriptlance, Freelancer, Fiverr. I never really got a chance to work on Odesk because that was when I was building Kohasol. The thing is that when you get a customer from abroad, you have to satisfy that customer's needs before you get the second job. So the whole notion that we can create 1 million jobs within a year using Ajira Digital is a little bit misleading. I think government should actually investigate how you actually build a community that grows to be the 10th biggest community and realize it's a slow process. It's a question of quality. It's a question of acquiring customer repetitively and customers talking to each other. Platforms are not the solution. It's not just building a simple platform and throwing people. And I can tell you that from my experience with Kohasol. Quality is the name of this game.
What has it taken to build the community you're talking about? Being a veteran, the fact that there are so many, well, things that need to come together first before you can even begin to say you're servicing these people. What are the key things we need to get right before we start saying that we can even begin to think about crystallizing an initiative such as this?
First of all, I mean, I don't know what it would mean for me to transcribe using my mobile phone. I'm listening to an audio and I'm typing out a 5-page document on my mobile phone with my 2 thumbs. I don't think that's very practical. We cannot compete with India because we have smartphones. I think we're going to compete with India and other Asian countries on this outsourcing front if we have laptops. Yes. So we need, first of all, access to hardware. Hardware is expensive. So how do you get university students and graduates and anybody out there looking for a job as computer? I think the first initiative the government should focus on is make sure people have access to computers.
But then they would say that they're putting up constituency hubs for digital, well, centers of excellence. Would that sort of help that initiative?
I don't think that helps computers. That helps with access to internet access, which is very good. Community hub centers, amazing project, amazing design. I have a lot of respect for Joe for this particular project of trying to make sure that he wires up the entire country. But how many gadgets are you going to put in a single center? How many gadgets can I put up at NILAB to enable 1 million people, even if you take as 1% of those to come and work from there? Everybody needs their own gadget. It's not a question of, again, getting them into classroom. These people, 40,000 people are not in a single hub. They're working from home already. So access to gadgets. And government had a similar project a couple of years ago called Wezesha, where they subsidized laptops for university students. And you will discover that most of the students that had access to those laptops are the people doing these jobs now. So access to laptops, access to internet access. With the hub program, it's brilliant. But I don't just want to go to a hub to access internet. Actually, I can confidently tell you that hubs like the iHub, the NILAB are not the future. The future is people working from their homes because they have high-speed internet access. Yes.
And let's talk a bit about the fact that we have in the past seen this sort of, so to say, with respect, top-down approaches. We saw the digital villages, which sort of failed to take off. And yet there's this community that is already doing these things. Has there been public participation before these initiatives are created, especially bearing in mind the fact that there are other people who are trying to play in that league. We've seen corporations like Intel. We've seen others who are coming and bringing their own initiatives to try and start building up from the grassroots.
Well, it's very unfortunate, but from my conversation with the community this morning is that they have not been consulted. And actually, most of the things that these government PR exercises tend to hurt them a lot more. There's a recent incident where somebody went on the air and talked about this, and a lot of the channels that they used to make revenue were closed up because of the information provided on a public platform.
Yes.
And so there's a transition that needs to happen between the government coming on here and saying, we're going to do this, versus consulting these people who've been making their living from these particular platforms, and then coming up and saying, this is a program we've designed for everybody to access. Yeah. Again, I'd say that I completely think that it's a good move by the government to want to get involved in creating online jobs. Yes. The question is not the what, is the how they go about doing it. Yes.
Let's talk finally about global best practice, because places like India and a few other countries in Europe, places like, so to say, Estonia and others have done these things, and they literally have become global leaders in these industries. What are the key things that we can borrow from these places?
First, let's look at our advantages as a country, or even as a continent. We have almost close to 17 million young people who are able to work. They have a fairly good education system. And I've thrown these stats around in the past. I've said we are 6 to 8 hours on average away from North America. We have a 2-hour time difference from Europe. We speak better English than most Chinese people and most Indian people. We have very good penetration of internet. It could get way better. And so we are strategically positioned to actually be the next source of business process outsourcing solutions. That is our biggest advantage as it is. Now let's look at the countries that want to outsource. America, Trump is saying, bring back our jobs. We are going to the public and saying, we want to go and capture those jobs. There's already a direct conflict over there. Latin America is next to the US. They have barely any time difference between them. And as soon as we jump out and say, hey, we want to do this, then they also intensify their efforts to do that. And they're really good at delivering quality. Look at Eastern Europe, and you're talking about Estonia, as you just mentioned here. It's become one of the bigger countries to actually be able to deliver jobs to Europe, the rest of Europe and America. Why is that? The education system is really, really good. Internet is free in Estonia. Internet is free to the point that if you don't provide internet as a public establishment, it's against the law. It's a social right to have access to internet. And that's why they're able to have internet access, to have internet information, and they can be able to do this. If you look at India, most of the Indians that actually made BPO thrive was the Indians that came back from America after the dot-com bust. The dot-com bubble busted. They went back home, and that's how they were able to deliver quality work, because they already were working in Silicon Valley before they went back home. So if you look at all those small factors, free internet access, ability to have a certain level of quality that you already know that a customer expects because you've worked with the same customers in the past, a good education system like, again, Estonia, that informs you and allows you to understand how to communicate with the customers, how to send feedback every 2 days, what kind of quality, whether it's software or transcribing, or whether it's whatever kind of work you're doing online you're supposed to do. There's so much more work to be done. And so I'd tell you, we don't want to do volume in this space. And our experience with kuhasol.com is the fact that you have to focus, again, on quality by focusing on a small number of workers, deliver extremely good quality to customers, and then you keep on scaling that. If you have a bigger supply side, 1 million people subscribe to your website, and you get 100 jobs, you're totally unbalanced. Yes, so you need to figure that out.
Well, okay, indeed. Thank you very much, Sam Gishuru from the NILAB, and indeed founder of Kuhasol. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us. Indeed, quality over quantity, that's the clarion call coming from the industry, the fact that we need to get several things right before we can even begin to dream of crystallizing the agendas that we have been trying to push out there. Now, moving